What's up? What's up? Real MVPs, Ricky Widmer here, and welcome to another edition of MVP Sports Live right here on twitch.tv/MVP Vids, or you might be watching on YouTube, MVP Sports. I am joined, as I always am, with my beautiful co-host, Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
Dave, how you doing today?
Honestly, pretty good.
Good.
It was a much-needed good day at work today. Got through things, got everything taken care of. I feel good moving into the extended weekend. I just got to make it through tomorrow. That's it.
Dave's like,
couple hours work tomorrow.
Just got to make it through. No work
Friday.
on Monday.
Correct. Monday off, short work Friday. Let's get to it.
Yeah, I mean, after I feel like the last 2 days for us both have been like rocky days of like not really in the zone. Not like anything of like, wow, we missed the mark. I mean, my internet missed the mark. That's on you, Comcast. But yeah, I felt funky the last 2 days. But yeah, this is MVP Sports. If you're new to the show, this is where Dave and I take you through the biggest sports news that happens throughout the week, throughout like the day before, because we do this Monday through Friday. You can catch it on Twitch, twitch.tv/MVP Live every Monday through Friday, or you can catch it on YouTube, MVP Sports. Also, join the Discord. That is going to be down below in the description if you're on YouTube. Philly Sean already putting it in Twitch chat. He's ahead of the game today.
No competition. He's just jumping in front.
Exclamation point Discord is how you get that link anytime that you want it. And then I'm trying to think. Otherwise, I think that's all that we have for housekeeping. Patreon.com/MVP Vids. That is how you help support the show. That is how you interact with the show with the certain special listener questions and Wet Boys. Patrons get to pick their own Wet Boys. And thank you to our Patreon sponsors, Pat Hill and Philly Sean. But Dave, we got a special first topic today, and that is the Hall of Famer. I want to say two-time MVP, right?
Two-time MVP.
He stole 2 MVPs from Kobe. That's what people say.
I think it was from Shaq.
Yeah, but Steve Nash is now the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. And before we get into everything, Dave, we got a special treat for you guys, a special homage to this, what's the word I want to use? This tremendous occasion of Steve Nash becoming the head coach of the Nets. Dave, I'm going to ask you to open your stream on Discord and take it away and hit the listeners, hit the viewers with this very special tribute that we have for Steve Nash.
Just a small snippet for you guys. Let's go live. Let's bring it up. Let's.
And finally, my favorite player in the world, Steve Nash. Yeah. Now Stevie Nash is taking 2 MVPs in a row. He stands above the rest, although he measures so low. He's a midget battling giants. He's a pick and a throw. He looks like ages hit, but he can ball like Leo. Steve is on the floor. He passes real nice, and even though he's short, his ass is real nice. He's got an average person's body.
He's got an average person's body. Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it, Dave. Oh, man. Steve Nash, the new head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. For those of you who don't know what that is, you're probably like, what the fuck did I just watch? It is a fucking classic. Fucking classic. Paul
Brogan.
He's got the best rap videos ever. His Soup or Bowl, his NCAA Final Four videos. Go check him out, Paul Brogan. He's a gem. He's a gem. But Dave, seriously, Steve Nash, head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. Were you as surprised as I was? Because when I saw this, I literally went, huh? Say what?
I didn't know that was an option. I didn't know we couldn't do that. Like, what? Definitely a left field coaching candidate as far as the media is concerned. I think that everybody had kind of their short list ready for who was on the market, who were the hot names. And nobody was really looking at Steve Nash because Steve Nash isn't a coach. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what caught everybody off guard when this thing came out. It was like, I literally heard from no location prior to his hiring that he was in for an interview. I didn't hear that he was interested in the job. I heard nothing surrounding Steve Nash and these Brooklyn Nets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, for me, it was one of those where I woke up to it by seeing a tweet that came out, and I'm trying to find it right now, but I can't. And it just basically, to summarize it, was basically like wow, this is like, Steve Nash is just like, they put him in the category of like Jason Kidd, where it's like, because of the work they did and the high basketball IQ that they showed while being a player is the reason that you got this job. And like, I know that Derek Fisher. Also Derek Fisher, that was it. Derek Fisher and Jason Kidd were the two names being compared, where it's like, because of their high basketball IQ on the floor as a player, that's why they get this job. Now the question will be, because we don't know what Steve Nash is like as a coach, will he be like Derek Fisher? Will he be like Jason Kidd and kind of fizzle out and not be that good? Or will he be like a name that Stephen A. Smith brought up today, where he said Steve Kerr was a coach that had no, like, Steve Kerr had front office experience, but he had no coaching experience before coming into the Golden State situation. And I wonder, to me, if I had to pick which side, like, if you have Steve Kerr on this side, that's good. Derek Fisher and Jason Kidd on one side, that's bad. I'm going to lean the needle more towards the Steve Kerr in my mind, only because of the fact that Steve Nash, high basketball IQ, showed it as a player, but also was a mentor to Steph Curry, and look at what Steph Curry has become. So, like, I feel like it's not like, oh, all of that is on Steve Nash. Of course, Kerr came in and got the most out of that team, but, like, if Steve Nash is, like, anywhere in there, like, even this much of helping Steph Curry be who he is today, then that should just bode good things for the Nets, who have Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant.
Look, Steve Kerr gets the credit for the changes he implemented with that Golden State team, so I don't want to take anything away from that. Steve Nash got this job because he made friends with Kevin Durant in his time in Golden State. He was a player assistant. I forget his official title, but basically he was someone who hung out with the team, helped players, and, you know, gave them tips, kind of a thing. Like you said, mentor, coach, kind of like a hybrid role, not, you know, officially as an assistant coach on the team, but definitely as a presence on that team and in that locker room and working out and everything. So he is someone who understands the game, understands the egos that go with it, and got along with Kevin Durant very well. And this came from Kevin Durant, basically, as the Nets wanted to go with someone who could handle the situation over there. And let's be honest, when you have the best player in the East in Kevin Durant, or equal to Giannis at least, you know, if people still want to make that argument because of his health, we'll see what he looks like when he gets back. That's fine. You need someone who can help manage that expectation and egos, and that's exactly what he's there to do. He likes Kevin Durant. He's worked with Kevin Durant. Kyrie Irving is an incredibly outspoken individual, and I think that it bodes well for Steve Nash that KD talked to him about it and got the thumbs up, basically. This has very little to do with coaching and a lot to do with player happiness on that team.
Yeah.
Because in theory, you don't need to have a situation where you have a coach who can overanalyze the game and knows the X's and O's better than everybody else out there. That's not necessarily what the Nets need. The Nets need someone who can handle egos and personalities and is a player's kind of coach, someone who can work with his team and keep their mentality high, because it was one of the things we watched not only Kyrie Irving struggle with when he was, you know, because he's often injured, his disinterest in the season at times where he fades in and out, seemingly about caring about basketball. I mean, I know he always cares, but just it shows differently in his mentality, his comments, everything in there. I think that that's one thing to consider. And as well as Kevin Durant, like, how do you keep a team motivated when they're the best team in the NBA? Well, he was around that team. He experienced that. Also, again, like you said, on top of all of the reasons that I believe he was hired, he also was an MVP twice. He also was an incredible basketball mind when it came to running a offense that was unique, running that 7 seconds or less offense, being a key cog in what became one of the highest scoring offenses, one of the most efficient teams, And then working with massive egos later in his career, and Dwight Howard and Kobe Bryant, he was around the right people. This feels very much like a who you know rather than anything else contributed to this.
Yeah,
I think that's what's frustrating when I see a lot of the hate and backlash over this hiring, is because I don't think it had a whole lot to do with coaching experience. I think it had more to do with he had experience with Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant likes him, and it came down to like, what are you most comfortable with as a coach? I think it just turned into a situation where he kind of met that Nets need of like, he filled enough of those things for them. But at the end of the day, he got the Kevin Durant seal of approval. Yeah.
And I mean, you brought it up, so I'm going to bring it up also.
Or not to. Our Discord was very talkative today.
Yes. I'm going to it was in the back of my mind, Dave, the hatred you talk about for this hiring. And I was like,
I'm not saying hatred. I say backlash.
Backlash. I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, I'm not going to bring it up yet. I'm like, if we do talk about it, let's talk about it at the end, but I'll bring it up now briefly just because you had mentioned it, where if you guys had not heard, Stephen A. on First Take came out and basically was like that this was, he point blank was like, this is a white privilege hire. And then talked about Mark Jackson, Ty Lue, Sam Cassell. And while you were talking before you mentioned the backlash, Dave, like Ty Lue's a name that I could see why people were like, why not Ty Lue? Like Ty Lue did the same thing for Cleveland, and Kyrie was on that team. Two things. We don't know what's going behind the doors. Maybe they interviewed Ty Lue, talked to Durant and Kyrie said, you know what, man? Dude, like, I didn't jive with him that much. Me and him did not gel together. I don't want him as my head coach. I'm not in the locker room. I don't know if that's true. I'm just saying a hypothetical that could have happened.
Right.
Like, we don't know what went on behind it.
Exactly.
I think you had the best line in our Discord, Dave, is like, unless the Nets come out and say we hired Steve Nash because he's white, we don't know. Like, unless they say that, which they won't, we do not know. And I see a random tweet here that hits the nail right on the head if you want to take the white privilege argument and point it at a head coach. It says, if you want to talk about how privilege gets white coaches jobs, Steve Nash isn't the guy you're looking at. Now that guy in Sacramento, and a ton of dots. That's an argument. That's an argument I can have.
Because he's on try number 2.5 technically at this point.
How many chances do you get? And this
you mentioned right off the bat, Jason Kidd, Derek Fisher, two other ex-players who were at the top of their games at that point guard position, which requires you to know offenses and defenses inside and out. Both of them highly respected, both with deep playoff experience. Derek Fisher with a handful of rings. I mean, like, you couldn't have asked for a more prepared candidate who didn't have coaching experience. And he was like handpicked as the triangle guy. Yeah. And it didn't equate in that situation to success. I'm not saying that this will or won't. I'm just saying that, like, I don't know that this situation with Steve Nash is that.
I mean, in two tweets I'm even looking at, Magic Johnson even said, last year Steve Nash was working with KD at the Lakers facility, and I could see that they had a really good working relationship. With Steve's basketball IQ, he really knows what it takes for players to go to the next level. And like, I don't think this was a hire of purely who do you know. It helps because without that relationship with KD, that foot's not in the door for Steve Nash. But let's not treat Steve Nash like he's some bum off the street that doesn't know how to dribble a basketball. Like, he does have a smart basketball mind. He has a relationship with your top star in KD. And if I'm a Nets fan, it's like, finally, you're sitting there going, all right, let's finally get this KD Kyrie era going in Brooklyn. Because this past year was let's see what Kenny can do without KD. Then it turned into what can Kenny do without Kyrie, because Kyrie was injured. And then basically it's like, you know what, just fucking sit. This season doesn't matter anyways. And we saw good strides, like especially like I would say what we saw from Karras in the playoffs, even like a Spencer Dinwiddie treats out. And I kind of agree with him in a sense here. He says, just to expand upon this, since I was having a little fun, He quoted a tweet that he sent an hour ago to this point that said, "Y'all want a third star?" Big eye emojis, popcorn emoji. He says, "I love the Steve Nash hire. So much of coaching at this level is being a psychologist. I think Karras is the third star, so that'd mean 4 rock stars in the building. Further roster construction will be interesting." And like, that's kind of a point of contention also, is like, now that you got your general, your head coach in mind, is this team just locked and ready to go? Or are there some moves that they need to make this offseason to solidify this as a for sure threat and championship team in the East?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's always more work that needs to be done. They can't just roll into next season with this G League roster and expect to be able to just plug and play 2 of the top players in the NBA and magically be the best team in the NBA.
With KD and Kyrie, though.
That's what I said. Plug and play 2 of the best players on in the NBA. That clearly, I mean, you look at what the Lakers are dealing with right now, and I don't think anyone's saying they're the best team in the NBA as of today. I mean, they have literally LeBron fucking James and Anthony Davis. They have 2 of the top 5 players in the NBA.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, Kevin Durant is right behind LeBron James, and maybe even a slot behind that because he's coming off an injury. Like, and then I think that the difference between Kyrie and AD, like, a whole lot more. It's a whole lot wider of a range. So I don't expect them to be like blowing out teams left and right. You need to do a lot of work on this roster. I think that they've got a lot of moves that they need to make, but because they're stuck in a specific cap situation, they're going to need to be very smart about the moves they do decide to make. So it just depends at the end of the day of like who, if they see everyone is movable outside of Kyrie, KD, and DeAndre Jordan, then we'll see what they can fully do. If they have promises, if they think that Karis LeVert's that third guy, I don't know if he is or isn't. Look, I love Karis as much as probably more than the next guy. I was a big backer of him at draft time. I talked about him gushingly for years because I knew what he could do. And I'm thrilled that he's been able to perform at this level. Injuries, not being a holdback on his development. But, if they have the opportunity to go get a Bradley Beal, if they have an opportunity to go get someone of that ilk, they should take that opportunity because stars win in the NBA.
So I got a question. This wouldn't be a third star per se. This would be more of like bringing in someone, because the question I have is DeAndre Jordan your third star? Because right now your big 3 is technically Kyrie, KD,
Jordan is not a star. Jordan is barely a bench level replacement.
And that's kind of where my mind is too. He's not even a starter on this team?
No.
Who's on starting at the 4 and the 5?
Jared Allen's at the 5.
Good point.
He's a better player. DeAndre Jordan is basically there because of the ego. He is there because to keep Kyrie happy, to keep KD happy, we're going to pay their friend and we're going to keep him here. That was the whole linchpin of this entire situation, was we're going to make sure we take care of the players first. And I think this head coaching decision is exactly that. It's another decision in the exact line that you can trace back to. The Nets are catering towards the players in a manner that whatever they want, they're going to try to get for them, and they're going to try to do everything they can to keep them happy, because that's what you have to do in the NBA, because there's no loyalty to teams, nor should there been. Like, to be honest with you, I'm not saying that like that, you should feel like you owe a team because you've played there for any amount of time. Like, these are businesses, and I'm glad the players are starting to treat it like a business decision, but I do have to wonder, like, how far catering can you go as an organization to players? And at what point do you pull the plug? Like, in a situation where, like, if Steve Nash goes out there and looks lost as a coach, I'm not saying he will be, again, hypothetically. If he looks lost,
we don't know.
Right. The other half of the statement of mine that you had said earlier was, I was saying I'm inclined to believe they're looking for the most qualified candidate for the situation. And then basically at the end of the day, it just turns into like, if he performs poorly, I hope they hold him to the same expectations that you would any other coach.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the thing, is I just want to see if he does well, great. If he doesn't do well, move on. Like, there's no reason to expect anything different out of him. It's just the fact that he's there because he is a person who has a relationship with people, and he is a person who people are happy to have around, and he has a great experience playing basketball. Now, he doesn't have experience coaching basketball, but let's see what he can do as far as keeping people happy, because that's what it seems like the Nets' ultimate goal is.
Well, and the one question I was going to throw your way is with the roster construction side, this is a thought I had, and I just want to throw this out there. If it sticks, great. If it doesn't. But Joe Harris, I'm pretty sure when we were talking about it, when we used to do the fast break, the consensus is that he probably will be gone from the Nets.
It's a question of how much money our team's going to pay him. He would be someone to bring back because of his incredible shooting.
And the thing I bring up is, would the Nets be more inclined to do, let's say, a sign and trade with the Kings if Bogdan wants out? If he wants out of Sacramento, I know there's really nothing that he can really do because he's an RFA. Like, anyone can offer him a contract. Well, besides the sign and trade, like, someone can offer him a contract, but if the Kings say, no, we're matching it, the only way he gets out is if he's like, hey, I want to get traded, and they find a sign and trade. Like, if Joe Harris is gone and they're not going to pay for him, would that be another option where it's like, I don't think Bogdan would be a star, but I think it would help out this team in a way if they lose Joe Harris?
I don't think they need him. Okay. They don't need another ball handler. They have 4. Like, you have Karras, you have Spence, and that's your bench unit. Yeah. And then you have Kyrie and you have KD. Like, you have 4 primetime ball handlers who can absolutely handle it in the playoff situations. I don't think they're looking for complementary pieces. They need a 4 who can defend. They need a wing who has size, and then they need to just add shooting. That's all it comes down to. They need those complementary pieces. Bogdan is someone who, if they didn't have Karras, would be a great fit because he's a worse version of Karis LeVert. Different. They're not even comparable because I think the Karras kills in the mid-range and off the dribble, where Bogdan has that 3-point range and he's very comfortable taking those shots. So they're different players, but like they both fill in that like secondary ball handler, shooting guard who can create for himself, who can create for others, who you can lean on in times to be the offense. But I just don't think that it's going to end up with them going for a piece like that. I think they need to find like there's a reason why we like the Aaron Gordon. Yeah. That was always an interesting deal because it seemed like just a clean fit, you know. KD rocks a 3, Aaron Gordon at the 4. You got someone who's a tweener, a defender who's athletic, but now injuries and everything going on, like,
and we don't know what the Magic are even going to do, even if like AG is healthy. Let's move on though, away from Steve Nash into the playoff games that happened last night. We had the Rockets beat the Thunder, thrilling Game 7. Both of the Game 7s we had in the West were thrilling Game 7s down to the wire.
Horrible refing.
Dude, the fucking we'll get into the Rockets first. The main thing is like everyone on Twitter is exploding. That's like Rockets in 6 was trending on Twitter. But we'll start with the refs. That fucking CP3 thing where it's like CP3 after the game explained it where he's like, well, they show the replay, so like I went to tie my shoe to like give coach enough time to like look at it, but then I think his name's Scott Foster was like, hey, you don't have to do that, and he goes, oh, okay, and he went to just finish tying his shoe, and then boom, hit him with a delay of game call. Even when he told Chris Paul, hey, no, it's okay, man, like, what the fuck is going I hope the league looks at Scott Foster and like looks into the film to see if he deserves to be on a stage like this, because CP3 is not the only one complaining about him. I know people say the Rockets complain about all the refs, especially when they lose.
They literally filed a grievance against him and said, we don't want this man coaching any of our games anymore because he's biased against us.
Yeah. But it looked like he was biased against both teams.
I think Scott Foster just hates basketball. I'm pretty sure he's the Joe West of the NBA. You know? He needs to insert himself into situations and make sure he is known on the court.
I was going to go to the different route. Is he the Donaghy without the gambling?
No, because Donaghy's motivations were his actions were money. I think that Scott Foster just thinks he's doing what's best for the brand. You know, he's not quite a Tony Brothers out there, but still, like, it's hard to like him. It's very hard to like him as a ref, and I understand why a lot of players hate him. But he ruins games. Like, the man charged across the court to call a foul on someone when the ref was 3 feet from him and didn't make the call. What do you think that says?
I don't like watching basketball.
That's vendetta.
Yeah, I don't like watching the refs. I like watching the game. Yeah. I'm not here to watch the refs. I'm here to watch CP3, James Harden go back and forth. But with the Rockets, because they're moving on. Dave, you've gushed about the Rockets before.
I've been telling you.
You said that they're the team to beat when it comes here. Do you agree with what was trending? Rockets in 6, or are people getting ahead of ourselves and not giving LeBron and AD enough credit?
I would be naive to say Rockets in 6 without a shadow of a doubt. Mm-hmm. I think that the Lakers are a legit competition because of that LeBron AD combo, knowing that that's guaranteed 70 points any given night between the two of them, not to mention all the looks they create for everybody else on that team. Rondo's healthy game 1, we're supposed to hear, so playoff Rondo, who knows what's going to happen with those Lakers. Another guy who's going to be a head coach. I think no offense, but he's Rondo. A guy who I can't wait for him. He's going to go straight from playing to coaching, and then we might see the elusive player coach when he inserts himself back into a game because he knows better than his point guard. He's one of those guys who, knowledge-wise, I am terrified to watch what he does to an NBA team because he probably is much smarter than most NBA coaches at this point. But B, it's just, oh man, when he gets out there and talking about the game and the amount of games that he watches.
Let me ask you this. Quick Rondo aside.
Sure.
Let's say you're a college.
Yeah.
And you have an open vacancy. Do you basically call Rondo up and say, hey, you want to interview for the job?
I mean, 100%. But I think Rondo is one of the guys who can walk into a coaching job in the
Yeah, but I look at it that way too, of he wouldn't be bad as a college coach either.
Oh, absolutely not. he would scream. He gets agitated. He gets angry. I love everything about Rondo.
Soapy, can't wait for Rondo to punch a player.
Wouldn't put it past anybody out there. He is a passionate fan of basketball through and through. I could gush about Rondo forever, but look, as far as this Lakers team, no, you can't underestimate them. No, you can't look past them. I think the Rockets have a legit scary matchup against them. And I really can't wait to see the situation when it plays out, who's going to guard who in what situations. The way the Rockets switch their defense around, they're constantly switching. B, it feels like they bounce between zones and man-to-man pretty on the fly. I mean, any given possession, they might be doing something different. So different looks, different takes down the court.
Yeah.
It's going to be a thrilling matchup. I really think that Harden will snap out of his funk. I don't know who's going to defend him constantly out there. They don't got Lugan's Dort don't grow on trees is all I'm saying. The Dort man don't grow on trees. We'll see who matches up against him, what that's going to look like. But at the same time, if Russ gets wet, I mean, Westbrook going to fucking dominate in the paint. Anthony Davis having to go up against that. And then if they force in, Dwight Howard into the game, guess what happened? You space him. You kill him with the spacing. So, it just feels like they have the right matchups to go up against them, and it doesn't feel like Dwight or JaVale is going to make them regret going small ball all of a sudden. So
yeah, to me it comes down to Westbrook and Harden. Because my first question is who you got guarding AD? Because with that small ball lineup, it's one of those. It's you got to pick one to put Rocco on, LeBron or AD. Because we've talked about Rocco guarding more centers with the small ball lineup, but who do you want to stop? Do you want to try to stop LeBron or try to stop AD? Maybe AD. See, here's the thing. Is AD's size compared to Rocco going to be in such a disadvantage to Rocco that you're I know it's LeBron, but we got to try to limit LeBron because it might be better. That's number one. Defensively, what are you going to do?
Well, I mean, I'm just going to stop you right there because the answer is you just put Harden on AD and you want AD to choke on it. I mean,
just that body just leaning on him.
We're talking about one of the best defenders in the NBA and the post in the league here in the beard. I don't know what. No. I mean, look, that's the crazy thing. The Rockets could do that and it could work.
Yeah.
I say it jokingly and I'm but for real though, on the low key, Harden could guard him. PJ Tucker will probably guard him majority. Rocco, probably the other half,
Because my other side is what you said. Westbrook and Harden need to show up, because I'm going to say it, and this is going to sound like Ricky's all butthurt because my pick wasn't right.
Blazers did not get out of the first round.
No, but here it is. Like, I'm not going to say the Blazers win the series, but I'm going to say if Dame doesn't get hurt, if it games 3 and 4, that Blazer team, the games that were basically 116 to 108 Lakers and then 135 to 115 Lakers, if Dame and CJ have better games in those, and I know by that time Lillard was playing injured with his thumb and then his leg. Like,
I mean, CJ had a spinal injury.
If they play better and are healthier, that series it's drastically different than what it ended up being. It would be more of a challenge for the Lakers to get out. So, like, for me, this is something where it's like, I could totally see the Rockets winning this series. It's just like the series, though, you just came off of, you let the Thunder almost beat you in 7. And, like, I don't want to put any...
Let the Thunder.
Well, I don't want to put any disrespect on the Thunder.
The fact that the Thunder play a system where they use 3 guards effectively, they just so happen to have a guy who is as physical as he is with the size he has, who has been a defensive monster against James Harden matchup-wise. You know, the guy who knows their team inside and out with Chris Paul on the court healthy the whole time versus James Harden, who doesn't have his number 2 star, and Russell Westbrook for the majority of the games. And when he comes back, he's hurt still.
Good points. Good points. I backed up.
Let the Thunder take them to 7. Well, although you got to admit, Russell Westbrook going, I know that inbound play when it happened. It just has to hurt as a Thunder fan watching that going, yeah, my coach is an idiot.
I step back a little bit from that because the Thunder, I've even said, and me included in this, have not respected them all season, and look what they've done. But like many of us thought the Rockets should have had an easier time with them. Like, I'm excited for this series. I think it's going to go 6 or 7, depending on no matter who wins. The thing that I hope doesn't happen is that we get like Rockets in 5 or Lakers in 5. Like, I want a hard fought series. I want to be entertained. On the other side of things, though, Dave, in the East, Jimmy Butler
is your father.
Team. Jimmy Butler is your father. Jimmy Butler is showing that the Bucs might not be the team we thought they were. And the question
they're the exact team we thought they were.
They are who we thought they were. We're not letting them off the hook.
Know, when you got 7 minutes left in the game, when you got 7 minutes left in the game, you want to put Giannis on the bench.
Yeah,
you can't overplay Giannis. That's what we've learned. 34 minutes is plenty of minutes for Giannis Antetokounmpo.
I mean, Scottie P not going to get you a championship, right? You need an MJ.
You got to keep Giannis healthy and rested for next year's season.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I want to ask though is, are they proving, they being the Heat, proving how overhyped Giannis and the Bucs might be? Because Richard Jefferson, and I know Scottie P has tweeted back at him.
Also, he's never been Scottie P. Say his full last name, you freaking jerk.
Scottie P, baby.
He's not Scottie P.
He said
he will never be Scottie P.
Richard Jefferson said Giannis might be a Pippen. There, I said it. He needs his Jordan, with the gif of Scottie Pippen basically pointing to the Jumpman logo on his shoe. Pippen basically retorted this, saying that he doesn't have the MVPs Giannis has, and basically putting respect on Giannis's name.
And
you say the end, because I don't have that tweet in front of me.
And he goes,
I would have to look it up.
The question is, who were you as a player? ? Cry face. Right. And then, Richard Jefferson had to admit, Scott Burrell. Facts.
I mean, does Richard Jefferson, I'm not going to ask does he have a point, because Giannis is definitely not the number 2 on a team. But does Giannis need more help from this Bucs team in the form of get me a better player than Chris Midd and Eric Bledsoe?
Chris Midd's not a bad player. It's a dumb thing.
And that's the thing. I didn't say that. I'm just saying, does he need a better player that's going to be more reliable in these situations? Because he can't do it. It's clear. Giannis can't do it on his own. Nobody can do it on their own.
I mean, the funny thing is, like, if you look statistically at the seasons, like Scottie Pippen, Chris Mid, not a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Not a big difference, people.
Yeah, but Scottie came up in big situations. Chris Mid,
did he? I can even sit on the bench at the end of a game when the game-winning shot needed to happen. You looked at Kukoc. And you're like, that's our.
I mean, we had other players, Dave, that hit shots. Steve Kerr hit shots. John Paxton hit shots.
Exactly. Scottie never hit a shot. That's my point.
But I'm not saying, like, Giannis doesn't need.
You literally just said that.
Though. No, he needs more help, is what I'm saying. Like, how many times I can count on all of my fingers I need more fingers for how many times we have said either Bledsoe or Chris Mid, wow, they didn't show up today in a playoff game. Wow, they really needed to step up today for Giannis, and they didn't. Like, I remember us having these conversations to where, do the Bucs need to go out and get Giannis a guy who is going to be there more reliably in the playoffs?
Let's take a look at this year's playoff performance by Chris Mid. He had a 14-6-4 game, pretty terrible. He then had his worst game, going 1 of 8 from the field at 2 points. And then he had 17, 8-6, 21, 10-3, 21, 10-7, 28, 6-5, 23, 6-8. Like, those are Scottie Pippen numbers. Mm-hmm. How about you get the fuck out my face?
No, but I'm not talking about the overall numbers. I'm saying, like, how many games, though, did we question with Scottie Pippen?
Approximately 2 this year.
No. But I'm saying, like, with Scottie Pippen, how many times were they like, man, Jordan can't do it all himself. He needs Scottie to step up. Like, we never said that about Scottie. Except for the injury year where he wanted to get traded, but that was like a different... That was him being mad at the front office.
Scottie. I would say that's maybe a revisionist history.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Scottie Pippen is one of those players who, at the time, wasn't shown enough love for what he's done, and now I feel like it's overdone. And I feel like he's talked about, like, people are like, oh, Scottie Pippen on his own was one of the best players in the NBA at the time. Like, he was the second best player that season. You know, the best player was Michael Jordan. Like, no, he wasn't. He's never the second best player in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I'm sorry, we are way on a tangent at this point of my hatred of, I don't even hate him, but like my hatred of the disrespect to Chris Mid and the overhyping of Scottie Pippen.
Mm-hmm.
Point being, the Bucs are who we thought they were. Their head coach perhaps is holding them back for reasons no one fucking can understand why he doesn't want to play his best player more than 35 minutes a night. If he's not playing 47 minutes a game for the rest of this set, then they failed as a team. Then he's failed as a coach. It's that simple. Unless they're blowing out the Heat, he's a bad coach.
And you know what the Warriors are doing right now? Excellent. Get swept in the playoffs.
Heat are doing right now?
The Heat are doing the same thing. The Nets are doing the same thing.
A couple years ago, like, so you beat Kevin Durant and then you get Kevin Durant. Let me see if I can apply the same logic. We're gonna sweep the Bucs and get Giannis. That's how this is gonna work out. Yeah. So we'll see. I don't know. I would love it if it happened. Just because that's insanely humiliating.
Go ahead.
You actually have a question?
No. Sure. Finish your thought. I was going to move on into Wet Boys.
Oh no, hell of a job by the Heat. Like they are the ultimate. Some of the parts are better than the whole. Like they have such great team basketball. Jimmy Butler is the right guy to lead this bunch, and they've got excellent role players. Goran Dragic,
lighten it up.
The man is a star, and people were like talking shit about him because Kendrick Nunn stole his starting job for the regular season. He wasn't getting the starts. So like, nah, our team works best when we have a ball handler who can run our offense on both the starting unit and second unit. Well, guess what? We already have Jimmy Butler in the first unit. We don't need to have Goran Dragic out there because we can balance our team out, and then our bench gets better and our starting unit is still very good. Yeah. Now they're like, look, pedal to the metal, baby. We're going all in. And they trust Goran. Goran's the right guy. Love the situation with Jimmy. Goran. Bam has been nothing shy of amazing. Like, love this Heat team. Love where they're going. Tyler Hero from the outside and the bench is great. They've just been really good. And I hope they keep it up. I hope they're a representative. I think them and the Celtics like a great matchup for the Eastern Conference Final.
I can't either one of them. I feel like it's gonna like if that series doesn't go 7, we're getting robbed of something. Like,
yeah, I agree.
Feel like Heat Celtics should go 7, but Before we move on into non-basketball news, let's do Wet Boys. If you're new, Wet Boys is kind of like our player of the day from the day before. Sometimes they're the soggiest of shooters, sometimes the moistest of men. I should say, I fucked this up yesterday, I'm going to do it right today. The dampest of dudes, the soggiest of shooters, sometimes they're the moistest of men. And very rarely, they're the mistiest of misses. I say very rarely because we've only had one misty miss. But these are our Wet Boys where we give credit to guys and girls who popped off the day before in sports. How we do it, Dave gives a Wet Boy, I give a Wet Boy, and then the patrons, patreon.com/MVPvids at the silver and above tier, they get to vote for their Wet Boy as well. So Dave, we're going to start with you like we always do. Who's your Wet Boy for September 3rd, 2020?
I'm feeling my Wet Boy for today. Should probably be a guy who helped his team win, a Game 7. He was a pretty big piece of that situation. Maybe the guy who enabled Mike D'Antoni to run the most interesting offense and defensive systems in the NBA today. It's our boy, Bob Covington. Put my boy up there. Give me that Bob Covington love.
Not Robert, Bob Covington.
You didn't even have enough room up there to put up the fact that he also had I think 3 blocks this game. 4 steals, 3 blocks, 0 turnovers. Do you know how big that is?
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane. He shot 11 threes, made 6 of them. Seriously, he was everywhere they needed him to be. He is everything you wanted him to be. The 76ers right now are at home crying themselves to sleep, because this is the guy they literally brought up and raised to be this 3-and-D guy for their
crying themselves to sleep. I love it.
It is a terrible situation in Philly right now, and our boy Boko is just living it up in Houston. And again, being able to guard the 1 through 5, doing the very unique things that offense and defense recall. I mean, it's just all the love in the world, that man.
Well, mine, Dave, I'm going to go of a different ilk. I'm going to go from the hardwood, the hard court, to the diamond, to the field. And I got to give my love. I kind of have a trend going on from yesterday to today. You hit 3 dingers, like Big Al says. I hit dangers. Yeah, Adam Duval, dangers. Baby. Duval County. No, it's not really If he played from Miami, it'd be better. Because he'd be closer to Duval, but Atlanta's close enough to Duval County. And you've got Adam Duval had 3 hits, or he had 4 hits. Went 4 for 5. No, he went 3 for 4. That's how the average puts up. 3 for 4, 3 runs. All of his 3 hits, home runs. And the most important part is his second home run tied the game. And then in the 8th, he was just like, "Oh, we're up 1, 2 run. A 2-run lead would be better than that." So extend it.
Because at some point, if someone can just point and hit a dinger, that's an instant Wet Boy for me.
I mean, the Ken Griffey Jr. Wet Boy.
God.
Ken Griffey, point, call your shot. Little Babe Ruth action going on. But yeah, Adam Duval, the Atlanta Braves, gets the Wet Boy. And then Dave, I'm going to let you gush about this Wet Boy because you gushed about him before he was even an NBA pro. The patrons, they going with ya boy Dave, ya boy. They going Lou Dort. Lou Dort getting the Wet Boy.
Lugans Dort is a good basketball player, turns out. He is shaped weird. That's the nicest way I can put it. He is strong.
He's shaped weird.
He has an irrational confidence in his shot that he should not have, but every once in a while it turns into a game like this, where he absolutely is lighting up from every single spot on the court. Man, the Thunder are going to have a great team going forward. The 1-year investment in Chris Paul was worth its weight in gold. I can talk shit about their coach all I want, but the fact that he had the confidence to put Lugans Dort into a matchup where Lugans Dort, honestly, before the bubble, you got to be like, who the hell was Lugans Dort? For 90% of the NBA.
James I know who Lugans Dort is.
90% of the fans of the NBA, just casual fans, had no idea who Lugans Dort was before the bubble started. So I'm just going to go hipster mode on that one and say that, look, hella confidence in his game. He looks great out there. He is going to keep getting better. It's just he needs that consistency to his game. But that's not today's talk. Today is all about the praise.
Yep.
And it's just a matter of man, he was so close to winning them that game. A, I'm surprised they gave him the shot. B, had he driven in, what could have happened? C had his shot. I mean, his shot got blocked by Harden, which was amazing. But then we saw the most athletic display by James Harden by leapfrogging the ball. Mm-hmm. He jumped up and leapfrogged that ball when Lou Dort, instead of turning to shoot again, in the moment panicked and went to go, I can throw it off him because I probably don't have the balance to get up another good shot. So he goes, okay, I'm going to go ahead and try to get this off Harden. Mm-hmm. We'll get a reset. Maybe we can get a quick toss, tap in kind of situation. It did not pan out for you this time, buddy. Mm-hmm. But, hey, this is a situation where it's that playoff experience. You see something in him, very much like we saw from last year in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in the playoff.
Yeah, this fucking Thunder.
Are we seeing something special?
I'm excited for this Thunder team moving forward.
Absolutely.
Last year in the draft, they had to make a trade for their picks, and they stayed put, and they drafted who they wanted, and it looks like
Beasley looks great.
They're getting guys, yeah. Beasley was the one. That was the pick in the first round, I want to say, where I was like, man, they're going to trade this pick. Maybe the Bulls trade up for it, but no, they kept with
college.
it.
He just goes straight in.
Yeah. But we are going to move on, do a little bit of NFL, and then we got one MLB / gambling news at the end of the show. But Dave, 2 of these are going to be shorties from the NFL. One's going to be more of the conversation. The first one is Leonard Fournette's found a home. It's the one home that Pat Hill in the Discord was basically like, the Buccaneers don't need Leonard Fournette. They got Peyton Barber. They love Rojo out there, as Arians is calling him. But no,
and
Leonard
behind him.
Leonard Fournette is a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. However, Bruce Arians has come out and said Rojo, Ronald Jones, is going to be the starter for the Buccaneers. So in my mind, no, and I believe him, because in my mind,
I don't.
It's not they don't like Rojo. When they made the signing, my first thought is buy Peyton Barber. Like, Peyton Barber is the one that I think is getting bumped from carries.
Peyton Barber's on that roster.
Yeah, that's their backup.
Their number 3.
That's that's it. He's now the 3rd running back. I felt like in my mind it's going to be Fournette and Ronald Jones in the forefront, and now Peyton Barber gets pushed back even further.
Are you sure he's still on that team?
Uh-huh.
I seriously feel like it was LaShawn McCoy the last time I saw their depth chart.
I'll look it up, but I am for sure it's fucking Peyton Barber who's back there. Stat checking myself. They have Leonard Fournette. They have LaShawn McCoy.
Yeah.
Then the article I looked at earlier lied. They lied to me. It's LaShawn McCoy, not Peyton Barber. Maybe they use all 3. Maybe they use all 3 then.
They all do very different things. Ron Jones is more of a bounce back. Fournette obviously is that fucking big boy who can catch the ball. I think he had about 70 receptions last year. Excellent performance. 1,700 yards from scrimmage. Nothing shy of amazing. 30% of that Jags offense was all on Leonard Fournette's shoulders. So I have to imagine that he is going to be a big presence in this team. Ronald Jones, nice piece. See you later. Mm-hmm. He's going to end up riding that pine pony a little bit more than my boy Leonard Fournette. And you want to know why? Because I drafted Leonard Fournette in fantasy. Like a fucking 200 IQ genius.
Did you put your roster moves in, Dave?
I did put your waiver move in. I put in one waiver move.
Only one.
Saturday.
Only one.
I drafted a really good team.
So I'm gonna. The only one you got to move is, did you get Devonta Freeman or Parkey?
No, I got Terry Cohen.
Oh, okay. So you got someone that. See, I got Mitch Trubisky. I'm not moving Mitch.
I could move my backup QB.
I'm gonna ask you live. I'm gonna ask you live on the show.
I can read off my team.
No. I want to ask you, what position did you put in for?
Wide receiver. Wide receiver.
You want to tell me who it was? So if it is, I'll just fucking cancel mine.
Is your wide receiver hurt right now?
No, I put in 2 running backs and a wide receiver because
I'm asking if the receiver you're going for is injured right now.
No.
Okay. Well, good.
The wide receiver I'm putting in for might be a part of the best offense in the league. He might have the most stellar quarterback.
I mean, are you talking about the Colts?
No, not the Colts.
Are you talking about the Seahawks?
Not the Seahawks.
Are you talking about
the Madden cover boy? That's his quarterback.
Oh, you talking about Hollywood?
Mm-hmm.
Is he playing this year?
I'm putting a waiver claim on him.
I wasn't sure if he was actually playing this year. I'll be honest with you.
Everything I hear is that he's going to be the number 1, like by week 2.
That's fine.
That's why I wondered. I was like,
for some reason, his name like had rang a bell with me on the COVID list. I wasn't sure if he was holding out or not. He's not though.
No, he's not. I was worried that you were going to try to take my guy.
No, your guy. He's my guy.
And then my guy that I'm trying to pick up. He's my guy because he's on my waiver wire.
Sure.
And
that's
then two running backs.
Yeah. No, I picked. Well, I put in my request. My pending move is for Deebo Samuel.
Oh, I didn't even think about him. Yeah. 49ers. Yeah, it's a good pickup. It's a good pickup, Dave. He showed some dividends, but getting away from fantasy a little bit. This is a good, like the rich get richer right now in Tampa Bay.
Dude, my team is disgusting.
It's only going to help them. Maybe one day we'll do a rate your team, Dave.
Yeah, maybe
we'll do that. You know what? Tomorrow we'll put it in there. Rate my team. We are rating Dave's fantasy team.
On the Bucs end, like it is. I love the way it came out during the Pat McAfee show because they were just joking around like, what do you think happened here? You think Tom Brady just walked into the front office and was like, so I don't know if you guys know this, but we did this thing up in New England where the best fucking players would come play for me for about $1 million because they wanted to ride my coattails to a ring. Seems like the rest of the league hasn't quite caught on to that yet. You guys want to try that?
He totally did that.
And
not exactly, but like he totally went into Arians and was like, I want him. 100%, no doubt that
we're going to go pick up, one of the best running backs in the NFL for $2.5 million, $3.5 million. Yeah, that seems fair. That seems like a fair deal to me. Like, and I feel like it will just keep happening. Like, guys in their defense. Oh yeah, we want to play with Tom Brady. Yeah, that's a deal.
So the next thing, Dave, that we're gonna move into. First off, we got some breaking news here on the show. Not breaking enough to talk about, but it's more of like a I told you so. So Field Yates had a tweet that was a longer tweet, and Adam Schefter quoted it and basically said, so Cam Newton is the Patriots starting quarterback and team captain. Called it. I knew they were going to start him.
It's good at football. Why is anyone surprised?
The big thing that's going on right now, and I got to find the exact tweet from Schefter, is Josh Rosen, Dave, in Miami. He tweeted this out 7 hours ago. With Miami's rookie quarterback Tua Tagovailoa healthy, the Dolphins have fielded trade inquiries in recent days for former first-round pick Josh Rosen, per league sources. In an upcoming weekend of moves, Rosen could be on the move again. Dave, me personally, and I know that you're going to be on the other side of this, because usually I'm on this side and you're not, because you're more of the tough love guy. I feel sorry for Josh Rosen, because I feel like he hasn't been in a spot long enough to prove if he could be the guy. He was in Arizona. Oh, we drafted Kyler Murray. Bye. He's in Miami. Oh, we drafted Tagovailoa. Bye. Like, is Josh Rosen ever going to find a home to where he can prove to a team like, hey, I can be your guy?
And neither one of those seasons were full seasons for him. He didn't get 16 starts in either season.
No.
So that, again, it doesn't help his case. Josh Rosen was a guy I liked a lot coming out of college. So it is extremely sad to see him struggle to find his footing in the NFL when it comes to an opportunity. But I wonder if he's going to turn into a guy who's going to be a backup for a couple of years, and then teams will start to get like hyphy on like, that guy, we haven't heard from him in a while. Like, he looked pretty good in preseason reps, and like, I bet you he's pretty good at football now, and we might get him on like a mid-year kind of, like a mid-level kind of deal for a quarterback, like an earn it kind of deal. I feel like that's the situation he's got to fall into. I'm a Bears fan. Let's just bring him into the Bears. Look, our quarterbacks right now.
Him for Mitch, straight up?
No, I would not do straight up for Mitch, but I would consider a deal where we do get him, and Mitch is obviously on his way out of town anyway, because Nick Foles is our starter, and he's going to be announced as our starter next week.
Yeah.
So I would like to move forward, and maybe Josh Rosen would be the guy to have on the bench to learn under him, because Mitch Trubisky can't seem to figure out how to move his feet in the backfield. Doesn't know where to look on the defense, to read the defense, where are the corners at, where are the safeties.
Overthrows wide receivers.
He can't find our wide receivers. It's just, the man's got so many pieces he's got to work on, and no one's saying he's getting better. No one is talking about Mitch getting better, which means, guess what? He's not. There's always hype around guys getting better. Like, this guy put on 5 pounds of muscle, 10 pounds of muscle. He's quicker. He got LASIK so his vision's better, so he can catch the ball better. Like, we're Bears fans. We're gullible. We believe that shit about Jordan Howard. I literally was like, well, Jordan Howard, I mean, he can see the ball in better. Like
you can see the ball better? Like, let's rationalize this.
That was a thing we tried to believe. Do you give us something? I'd go ahead and move. Like, let Trubisky walk. Let's pick up our boy fucking Josh Rosen for like a 6th round pick and be happy because, I mean, one way or the other, we should get a quarterback in this next draft. And if we don't get a quarterback in the draft, we should get Josh Rosen.
Because Josh Rosen was, let's see, when he was traded to Miami, what did they give up for him? I know that Arizona got you, your boy, the one wide receiver. The one wide receiver that you were talking about. Yeah, Isabella. Because I remember
who they refused to use.
We were at Endgame sitting down for the movie as it happened. And I was like, Dave, the Cardinals got your boy.
I'm so hyped.
They got your boy. Let's see. Cardinals named him the starter, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, okay. He was traded for a 2nd round pick. A second round pick in the 2019 draft, and then a 5th rounder in the next draft. So they gave up a 2 and then a future 5.
He's worth a 5 right now. Okay. Period. Like, I don't think anybody's going to give him more value than that. With the draft class of quarterbacks coming out, with the fact that the Jags have moved on from a safety now, their starting safety is now in the Browns for a 5th rounder. They made that deal today.
Yeah.
So they've continued to throw in the towel. Like, I don't
know
how
sale by the Jaguars.
Got to throw in. Like, they've at least 3 or 4 now at this point.
The saddest video on Twitter I've seen is it's a Jaguar fan going to his closet, and it's like Bortles, not there. Robinson, not there. Ngakwe, not there. Fournette, not there. Dude. Ramsey, not there. It's like, all these jerseys I have, nobody's here anymore.
There was a graphic of all the players who were on that playoff run where they beat the Patriots in 2017.
They're not there.
There's like 8 guys left on that entire roster. 8.
Yeah. That team that should have beat the Patriots because they got fucked on a call, but I'm not going to get into it. Not going to get into it. Not going to get.
If you have talent, you're not welcome here, is what is happening in Jacksonville right now. It's very concerning.
Tank for Trevor, baby.
Tank for Trevor's on. I don't know how
like
they
the
can't
suck
be
for
the worst
luck
team in the NFL.
Yeah, it's like the suck for luck.
But I don't think the Colts moved on from everyone with talent.
No, they just, hey, Peyton Manning's not going to play. We're going to suck to get Andrew Luck.
They literally just didn't have anybody else who could do his job. And this is a situation where they're actively moving talent off team.
Didn't Pat McAfee wasn't Pat McAfee like, yeah, put me in quarterback.
He offered. He was going to be a backup, and he's like, I could throw a spider out there. I could take a couple snaps. Coach. And then he basically got told to shut up.
I love his story about how mad he got at some Madden guy, some Madden representative for his throw power rating. Because he's like, have you ever come and seen me throw? Have you watched me? He's like, this guy had probably nothing to do with the ratings, but I had to lash out at somebody.
He was the rep, giving out gear in games, and he's giving him shit. What was the other thing? Oh, they had Dallas Clark on, and he was even joking on. I think they were talking about like, it'd be like if the Colts were like, well, I mean, we're tanking, so we're trying, it's a regime change. We're trying to get the right guys in there, so we're going to give away like Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison. We don't want those guys here because I didn't draft them. How? What? Like what? It just doesn't make sense from any angle you look at it.
Does Tom Coughlin know what he's doing? Who knows?
Tom Coughlin isn't going to have a job next year. It doesn't matter.
He's technically running the team right now.
I just don't understand.
He's the guy running the team for Doug Marrone. Doug Marrone's the coach.
Doug Marrone's not going to have a job next year. Tom Coughlin shouldn't have a job next year, but he's going to get
what's
Trevor
the exact
Lawrence.
Title for Tom Coughlin? Because I know Coughlin is not the coach. He's more of the, let's see.
Football operations. Are we like NBA where you can do that? Or
I think he's just in the front office now. He is the, let's see. Executive VP of Football Operations.
There it is, yeah.
Yeah, he's been there for 3 years, 2017 to now.
Yeah, so basically all he's done is take a team that competed in the playoffs on a deep run and got the fuck out of them.
Yeah. To get it back to Rosen, though, two of the teams one that's been thrown out on Twitter that I'll mention has been the Texans, mainly because of the fact that, hey,
Watson gets hurt like every year.
Bingo. Watson gets hurt. We can see what Rosen does. He can be a safety blanket behind Watson. I have a different team in mind, Dave. Right division that you had, though. Why don't the Lions trade for him?
Great call.
And I say that only because, like, Matthew Stafford is a free agent the same exact time as Josh Rosen, but there's a potential out for Matt Stafford after this year. So the Giants could, or the Lions could do one of two things. They can trade after this year, make a decision on Stafford if they think Rosen could be a guy moving forward, or give him time, and then basically you're playing the game of, hey, we'll give you a new contract and extension. When Matty walks, you're then the starter.
Yeah, I think that's...
Or they move on early and they fucking Brett Favre basically Matt Stafford in that last year.
Matt Stafford will not be walking off the field. He will go off the same way Brett Favre did with an injury. Like,
good point.
He loves the game of football. No one can deny that. I fell in love with the man as soon as he, shoulders toast, going back in the game, coach. Going back in the game. We called timeout. I'm going back in, throwing a game. Touchdown.
Before we get into the little baseball gambling news that I want to touch to end the show, sure. I'll let you react to this football one because you like this player. You have liked this player for a long time. Seahawks are re-signing suspended wide receiver Josh Gordon. So your boy will be playing once he gets done with his suspension, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's dumb as hell that he's been suspended more times for weed than, like, anything else. Like, It's weed. Like, what's the big deal? The NFL, I'm glad they've come to their senses and decided that, they're going to be mature about this fact and quit punishing him for smoking weed. Like, he obviously has substance abuse problems. Yeah. I'm not denying that. I hope it's the best for him. I hope he is in control of his situation.
I thought the Browns were going to be good for him, and then it's like, oh, it looks like Hugh Jackson's like really going to help him, and then it's like, oh, we cut, and then we cut Josh Gordon. Wait, that happened in a week? What?
We thought the Patriots would be good for him. But again, like, substance abuse is a problem, addiction is a problem. Yeah. Don't let me minimize that. But the fact that they were suspending him for years because of him smoking weed versus all the over-the-counter drug and painkiller addiction that NFL players are doing legally is insane to me.
Well, it almost reminds me of Miley Cyrus was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and I watched a clip of it.
Recently?
Yeah, recently. Yesterday, like 2 days ago. Her voice is, I will say, I know it's because she had vocal cord surgery, but it's like it's a deepness that I'm like, I don't expect Miley Cyrus to have a deepness like that in her voice. But like she said, because in a clip she talked about like her sobriety and her drugs that she's done. And she was like, yeah, I was balancing the act of how much weed can I smoke while still being able to portray a teenager on Disney Channel. And Joe Rogan goes, yeah, how much is it? And she goes, more than you'd expect. More weed than you would expect to be able to properly play a teenager.
Big girl, so yeah, that credit to her.
So the last thing we're going to move into, Dave, we're actually talking gambling on the podcast. And it's because the Cubs making some big money moves when it comes to sports books. This one from David Purdom at ESPN. A retail sports book complete with betting windows and self-service kiosks is in the works for one of baseball's iconic venues, Wrigley Field. On Thursday, the Cubs announced a multi-year partnership with DraftKings that includes plans for putting a sports book at Wrigley Field or in the Wrigleyville area outside of the park. The Cubs are the first Major League Baseball franchise to commit to opening a retail sports book on their stadium presence. An increasing number of sports fans want to integrate sports betting into their game experience, and we're excited to be one of the first to engage in developing a retail sports book at a professional sports venue. Crane Kenny, president of baseball operations for the Cubs, said in a release announcing the deal. Dave, is this the beginning of what will become a norm for not just baseball, but maybe all of sports? Because now we're seeing, like, Illinois was one where it's now legal to bet on sports in Illinois. Like, is this something that is good for sports?
Legally. Yeah, no, of course it is. Like, this is a no-brainer. I think the fact that it's a win-win. The team gets money, the bookies get money. Well,
DraftKings get money.
DraftKings gets money. The bookies get less money. But like, it's always safer to go through DraftKings than bookies. Bookies are generally portrayed as
one will take your life. One will just hurt your credit.
There you go. Good words. So no, this is a win-win. It's a great move to make. It's a no-brainer, and it's just a shit ton more money being in, just influx of money into either the team, the stadium, the area nearby. Like, it's going to keep popping off. The same way that, how they put up those little gambling machine shops called like Gotti's and whatever, like the storefronts that have like 8 fucking slot machines. It's just going to be like that. We're going to see them near sports events, at sports events. It will have sections eventually. Like, gambling is such a part of sports. They've intertwined since day one. And we're just acknowledging that and allowing it to happen publicly now. And it's good. It's for the best.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's when I saw this, I was like, ooh, at first I'm like, I don't know how to feel about this. Because usually it's like, I've been, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of, I don't want to say groomed, but like, it's always been ingrained that like betting is bad. And especially like since before it was like sports wants nothing to do with betting. And now it's a different time where it's like, hey, that shit's okay.
Nothing to do with betting.
I mean, openly. They want nothing to do with betting, but like now it's like this isn't going to be something that like affects the play on the field. It's not like a player. It's not like a player is going to be like, hey, before the game, let me put a couple on this and then cost the team the game out there. This is just going to be something where it's like it's going to be open. Like, hey, I'm going to like Jake has talked about it, where it's like going to cash in on this. Oh, I'm going to cash out now to get some winnings. Oh, I'm going to place it on the bet now because I'm going to have a bigger return if it happens and they come back to where, like you said, going to make the team money, going to make the Cubs money, going to make DraftKings money.
Yeah, it gets people super bought in and interested in the sport as well. So like, it's a win-win.
Well, that's going to do it for MVP Sports Live today. Thank you guys for watching on Twitch. Twitch.tv/MVP Vids is where we do the show every Monday through Friday. You can also catch it on MVP Sports on YouTube after the fact. If you ever miss a show, make sure to check out Discord. Link is in the description, or !Discord in the Twitch chat to pull up that link. Patreon.com/MVP Vids to help support the channel. Thank you to Pat Hill and Philly Sean, our Patreon sponsors. And pretty much that's it for housekeeping. I think I got them all this time. But Soapy and I on Twitch will be up next with MVP Games Live. Dave and I will be back tomorrow to wrap up the week for MVP Sports Live. I want to thank you guys for watching and listening. And as always, have a good day, everybody.